Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this nice words. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear students, and others, I would like to welcome you to this lecture. After this wonderful lecture of Javier, I hope you will survive within coming 45 minutes to listen to my lecture. But first of all, before I start, of course, my gratitude to my dearest colleague Imre Horvat. We know each other for many years, for this invitation to give a keynote, but of course for the organizers of this wonderful event here in this nice island. Full name, I have to look at it because I couldn't remember. Professor Dr. Jose Pablo Suarez Rivero and Professor Dr. Pedro Manuel Hernandez Castellano, and all wonderful students who helped us during the last days. They were great. Thank you very much. What I'm going to do is, in fact, as you have heard, I am a simple architect. My chair is Design Informatics at the TU Delft. But I will give you an overview about the past, present, and the future of the cities related to smart city. In that sense, I will give a very broad overview, a vision on developments and evolution of the cities. But before I start, this is my staff. I am very proud of them. I have a multinational group of wonderful young people who are working in my chair, including the student assistant and PhD students, and these are the beautiful faces. They do the work, and I am sometimes talking about that, like today. What I'm going to do, as I said, past, present of the future, present and the future of the cities. In that context, I will go to historical background of cities, changing cities, threats and challenges I will mention, ICT in contemporary cities, and the smart city. What is smart city? Trends in future cities, with the conclusions. But what are the scientists doing in essence? And if you think of it, scientists are trying to discover, in fact, everything that is existing in the nature, and nothing else than that. So everything they discover, what we can experience and observe, which is existing. And each technological and scientific development brings always advantages and disadvantages. And our task as scientists is to maximize the advantages and minimize the disadvantages, because we as human beings are the most advanced being in the universe. And we have, of course, responsibilities as architects, engineers, and planners, because cities and buildings are the most enduring elements of our culture, and they are the greatest legacy for the future, besides being the important part of our economy, of course. Culture is a dynamic phenomenon and changing in long term as the buildings and built environments. And built environments play a very important role in our planet, in all aspects. And Winston Churchill said, we shape our dwellings and the dwellings shape us. So our behavior is changing like this. If you look at the main factors which influence our culture, those are environmental adaptations, historical factors, contact with other cultures, social, economic, ecological, and the technological evolutions always influence the culture in the long term. Now I will give you from the history, in fact not very long time ago, around 300 years, how our cities are changing. This is a very nice example of Carcassonne, France. You know it, I am sure about it. In the past, in the Middle Ages especially, the cities were fortified, not so big. It has always been surrounded by the fortifications. There was a city center, city ports, and it was made for the coaches and pedestrians. This is another very nice example from Rothenburg Tower in Germany. If you haven't visited those places, I really recommend you to do it. It's wonderful places. You have a market square, other meeting places, gorgeous fortifications, all the same. These are very nice examples from our country, Netherlands, Heusden, Willemstad, Naarden, and the market square of Breda. Of course, the geographical factors play a very important role, the climatic conditions as well, how the cities are formed. There is a very nice Dutch saying, the Dutch say, God created the earth, the Dutch created the Netherlands, which is absolutely true, I think. And these are some examples of other Dutch cities, because the security was very important. Therefore, they made these city ports. And market square as a social meeting places in the medieval cities was very important function. And the cities were designed around these marketplaces. But in our time, unfortunately, in contemporary cities, there are no really market square or meeting places. Perhaps we have a virtual meeting places that are more and more. And these are some examples of the market squares. This is the example of Brussels at night, which is still functioning. And other influence, as I mentioned, contact with other cultures. And from Spain, I'm very fond of Spain, you will see in this lecture. The cultural influences are very important in forming of cities. When the Moorish came to Cordoba in 711, they made the Cordoba capital of Spain. It was at that time, Spain was most prestigious and wealthy city of Europe because all other religions, Muslims, Christians, and the Jewish lived in harmony. The Moorish who came to Spain, they were not Arabs, absolutely not. They were of diverse ethnicities, such as Persians, Arabs, Berbers, Moorish, Turks, and so on and so on. And they had highly developed knowledge on science, culture, and art, especially in terms of geometry, spatial geometry, mathematics, physics, chemistry, astronomy, and building techniques. And at that time, it is very interesting to know the Mosque of Cordoba has been also used as a university building. In each niche of the building, they have been teaching in different topics. And students from the Western Europe, they were coming with scholarship to Cordoba University to study there. And the lectures were even given, instead of Arabic, it was given in Latin at that time. The most famous places, which I'm very fond of it, is the Moorish Spain of Alhambra, Granada. Late Zafarian Abbas, he says, it was love at first sight. I had never seen such grace, colors, proportions, patterns, calligraphy, and so on and so on. This is really a great place. I have visited many times, short while ago, again. It's a very wonderful place. Unbelievable how people made it at that time, these three-dimensional mukarnases with complex geometry. Still, nowadays we can make it with computers, but at that time it's still a mystery how they made it. And it's a good connection to Asia. It is coincidence, but the Dutch creative artist Escher, he studied in Spain, especially in Alhambra. He studied these complex geometric patterns, and then he based his creative art on the knowledge that he gained in Granada, Spain. And you can observe these wonderful preserved cultural and historical values in Cordoba, Spain. Those courtyard houses are really beautiful with introvert lifestyle, maximum privacy and comfort, still very lively and wonderful, these narrow streets. The story what I was telling is not my story. One of our professors from TU Delft, Rinus Schout, he's still living, he wrote a book about the building of cathedrals And in his book, he mentioned that the building of cathedrals, technical knowledge, partially comes from the Romans, but merely from the Moorish University of Cordoba, especially the very famous French cathedrals like Cathedral of Chartres, Lyon, and many others are based on this knowledge, because the students who graduated there in Cordoba University, let's say, they came back to their country and they started to build these cathedrals. And I am referring to Professor Hout in his book. Now, after not such a long time, 200, 300, perhaps 400 years later, we are now dealing with megacities. The cities are growing and growing, as you see in these. These are a few examples, but there are many examples with enormous growing cities. It has to do with technological developments, of course, especially, for instance, the invention of the car, airplanes, and many other factors influences these changes. And it has then environmental consequences. I would like to ask you, which are those cities? Can you recognize them? Okay, this is not important. But those are 4 different cities in 4 different continents. And so, as you have seen, within almost 40 years' time, the cities are changing very rapidly. And it brings many issues with it. There are global environmental hard issues, what I say. Like you all know, climate change, till the loss of diversity and extinctions, and loss of natural resources, and so on, which we are hearing and dealing almost in our daily life. And there are also soft issues, global soft issues. The population growth in megacities is a big problem in the coming years. Large-scale migration, poverty, inequality, hunger, job opportunities, health problems, and so on and so on. So water, for instance, drink water is being a big problem in the coming centuries. Today, cities are the center of civilizations and center of knowledge economy. They play absolutely a prime role in social and economic aspects worldwide. And urban areas generate more than 90% of the global economy, and more than 50% of world population living in those cities, 3.3 million people. And up to the estimations, in 2050, 70% of the world population will be living in metropolitan areas. And in Europe, already 75% of the people are living in urban areas, and it is expected that it will be 80% in 2020. Cities consume more than 65% of the world's energy, emit 70% of greenhouse gas emissions, and they have absolutely big impact on the environment. And in the contemporary cities, sustainability and technology is like a double side of the coin. As I said, the built environment is consuming a lot of energy and producing greenhouse gas emissions. For sustainability and eco-responsibility in cities, till now, there is much attention paid to the buildings, energy, and mobility, inclusive transportation. And in our century, equally important element is the information and communication technology, which is, in fact, an environmental problem and, at the same time, enabler for environmental solutions. If you look very briefly what we are talking about, it started with information technology, which we could, technologies which, and tools which we can use to store, retrieve, transmit, and manipulate data. And then we added the communication aspect, and we talked about ICT. And then we put knowledge in it, and we talked about information communication and knowledge technology, which where we use soft computing technologies like intelligent technologies. And nowadays we are talking about IoT, this is Internet of Things, and ubiquitous computing, but I don't need to tell you, you're all engineers, you know much better than me. I just give you the overview, what is now happening. But due to the technological developments, nowadays we are talking about the changing cities, and there are various names, what the cities get. We talk about knowledge cities, energy cities, eco-cities, autonomous cities, livable cities, and cities. Few of them. A digital city. What is a digital city? It is up to Ishida, refers to a connected community that combines broadband communications infrastructure to meet the needs of governments, citizens, and businesses. And the final goal of the digital city is to create an environment for information sharing, collaboration, interoperability, and seamless experiences anywhere in the city. An ubiquitous city is an extension of the digital city concept in terms of wide accessibility. And the knowledge city has emerged from discussion about smart cities. Then the question, what is a smart city? There are many definitions of smart cities, but especially I refer to smart cities definitions, dimensions, performance, and initiatives from Vito Albino, Umberto Berardi, and D'Angelico. In 2015, they made a very nice journal article, and they made a very nice overview of the all definitions of smart cities. But I think few of them, Harrison stated that the smart city denotes instrumented, interconnected, and intelligent city. Instrumented refers to the capability of capturing and integrating real-world data through the use of sensors, meters, appliances, personal devices, and other similar sensors. Interconnected means the integration of these data into a computing platform that allows communication of such information among the various city services. And intelligent refers to the inclusion of complex analytics, modeling, optimization, and visualization services to make better operational decisions. And from here, I would like to step into human intelligence. What is human intelligence? Up to Oxford Dictionary, the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. And Stenberg defines human intelligence in three subsets: creative, analytic, and practical intelligence, he says. And here I would like to refer to the saying of Socrates. Socrates says, I know that I'm intelligent because I know that I know nothing. So if we think about the very first video about the universe, in fact, we as a human being, even not a dot in that universe, in that scale, if you think, we only know certain things, but nothing, in fact, comparing with others. Howard Gardner, famous psychologist, he defines multiple intelligences. He has a theory of multiple intelligence, and he sets forth 9 distinct types of intelligence, and claimed that there need to be no correlation among them. And those are spatial intelligences, visualizing the world in 3D, naturalist, understanding living things and reading nature, musical intelligence, discerning sounds, their pitch, tone, rhythm, and timbre, quantifying things, making hypotheses and providing them deals with logical mathematical intelligence, existential intelligence, and so on and so on. So if you are interested, you can look at the literature. I won't take more of your time. And from here, I step to IQ. IQ is a measurement of the human intelligence and expressed in a number. An intelligent quotients, the test compare your performance with other people at your age who take the same test. And these tests do not measure all kinds of intelligence. It is very complex because the scientists, they are still doing research on the human brain, how a human brain is working, but we are far beyond the reality. There is also EQ, emotional intelligence, the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. Now from here, the question arises, how can we measure the IQ and EQ of a city in terms of analytic, practical, and creative intelligence, is the question. A time ago, one of the most prominent professors from Imperial College London, Sir Peter Hall, he wrote many books about cities. He do research. He was invited by the municipality of Amsterdam and also the Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environmental Planning in the Netherlands. And in his talk, he was indicating the importance of the non-native people in the cities, the migrants. He says creative cities are the ones who are very open for migrants, those who bring innovation and creativity in the cities. Historically, cities have always been where people meet, communicate, and have ideas, and that is those ideas which lead to prosperous places. And he was giving references to most well-known cities like London, Paris, New York, many others, of course. And he says cities are where the ideas happen, and cities are creative places. And cities are the places where research and development find place with outstanding universities and or national research institutes, such as in Germany, like Max Planck Institute and Fraunhofer Institute, and so on. One of the well-known cities at this moment with its intelligence or being smart is the Singapore. Singapore is a city-state with smart and livable city, title of the East. This is a very nice example of an architect, the Israeli architect Moshe Safdie. In 2010, he built this enormous engineer's building. It is not only from the architectural point of view, but from the engineering point of view. It's not an unimportant building to build such a 150-meter high swimming pool on this. So the new type of functional social spaces is generated. So the reason that there is no general agreement about smart cities, probably, that the term has been applied in two different kinds of domains: hard domains and soft domains. There are soft trends in contemporary smart cities. Technology should connect people by creating relationships, but it is like, again, the double side of the coin. It causes isolation, loneliness, especially with the elderly, lack of public spaces such as green areas, as I mentioned, parks, recreation places, where people can meet and have social contact. And especially in the high-rise buildings where people are living, they don't know their neighbors. One of the bestseller books in the United States, written by Sherry Turkle, she's the professor in MIT. She wrote a book, it was the bestseller, Alone Together. And in her book, I only took these sentences, she says, we've gone through tremendously rapid change. And some of these things just need a little sorting out. I believe we shouldn't applaud the existence of technology without criticizing, which is not showing respect to traditional values, which I absolutely agree. Nowadays, even when you go to a restaurant, families are over with their telephones, smartphones, and not talking with each other, but only communicating with their telephone in another social context, probably. I can, of course, give the best examples from the Netherlands about the intensification and adaptation of cities. Up to the estimations in the Netherlands, the metropolitan region of Randstad, what we call, which is the west part of the country, which includes the big cities, Amsterdam, Utrecht, Den Haag, and so on, but there will be 1.5 million more inhabitants in 2040. And up to estimations, 26% of the Dutch population will be older than 65 years in the Netherlands in 2040. So it means there will be totally different spatial planning. And 1/3 of the population of the Netherlands will not be native origin Dutch or Western and non-Western migrants. But it is also in the Western Europe countries, almost more than 90% of buildings in the cities are existing building stock, and the cities have to be transformed and renewed in the coming decades. Why we are doing that? I think it is very important to pay attention, what I mentioned earlier, these hard and soft aspects in the smart cities. I always use this anecdote of a bird. Bird has two wings. If one of the wings are not there or fallen down, the bird cannot fly further. So it is also with our societies. We have to have this balance with hard and soft aspects. Every time the hard aspects are the material, physical, and quantity aspects, and the soft ones are the immaterial, human-oriented, and quality aspects. In the contemporary developments of the smart cities, the emphasis is too much on the technology side and absolutely commercially driven. It is also necessary. There are people from Siemens, from other companies. Of course it is necessary, but the balance is always important. The emphasis is on the so-called big data, and we don't know yet enough about how people interact with the cities. Generating information and knowledge from this big data is a challenge issue. There is limited scientific knowledge on how to make cities intelligent or smart for its citizens and people. And we know very little about citizens' preferences and even ergonomics of livable cities. Needless to say, what we are talking about is not only about the data and information, but especially knowledge, and to come to a wisdom is a challenge for the future. So you all know what this is. I'm not explaining, not to take your time. And there are different types of knowledge: implicit, explicit, and the tacit knowledge, which is the knowledge of architects especially, which you cannot transfer by verbalizing or writing. We have now data and information about the physical aspects of cities, but we need also knowledge about the human aspects, as well as to set up intelligent cities once more. And the question is, how can we dynamically develop intelligent cities by means of participation of the citizens, which is a very important aspect in this development. But now I step to transformation of cities. And there is a challenge now and ongoing developments in eco-friendly, energy-efficient, self-sufficient or autonomous buildings and cities. And I will provide you very quickly examples of 5 self-sufficient places now in the world. One of it is the Samso Island. It is an island in Denmark. Only 4,000 people are living. They are almost self-sufficient. We have visited a few months ago there, but I would say people are not very happy because they are too much isolated in the island, they say. Especially the young people are migrating to other places and elderly are staying there. Another example is the eco-village in Finhorn, Scotland. This is also the community located in Scotland. 200 families came together from different nationalities, and they made a sustainable city. I go very quickly. In Canaria Island, you also have El Hierro Island. Perhaps sometimes we can go and visit them. They provide their energy from the sea. This is in Pacific Ocean in New Zealand. They produce 100% of electricity power by solar panels and not much inhabitants. We can do it. Another development is Mastar City, which is in fact initiated by MIT. Professor Fred Moulenzade is the head of the Mastar City. He set up this city and 100% they call it self-sufficient, eco-friendly cities. Even in the city, They don't use fossil fuel for the cars. And there are trends in the building sector, sustainable energy production in buildings. The building itself produces sustainable energy for its own use, an autonomous building, self-sufficient building. This is a very good example in contemporary architecture by Toyo Ito, the Japanese architect who built in Taiwan this beautiful stadium. The stadium provides its own energy, 80% of its own needs, and then provides electricity for the neighborhood. It is like an energy factory for the neighborhood. It's a very nicely done, beautiful building with solar panels. Now from here, I would like to go to spatial planning in Singapore, and from an architect's point of view, architect Cheng Kun Hin, how she designed and how she designed the smart cities. But we are a little bit out of time because of the delay. Shall I continue? Otherwise, I skip this video.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Okay. Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay. So perhaps it gives an idea how the performance of a neighborhood cities will be reached during the design phase.
As an architect planner, actually,
Can you hear it?
Sure.
and I would very much like to build smart town that's livable, efficient, sustainable, and safe for you.
This is a fragment from the TEDx lecture of her.
Smart in all areas: smart planning, smart environment, smart estate services, and smart living. What is smart planning? As an architect planner, I love this part because it helps me design a better living environment for you. Now, what is smart planning? Basically, the first thing I do is to collect all the data about town, buildings, roads, parks, and I put it in. And I will also collect a lot of information about energy use and waste, for example. And with this information, I can develop a three-dimensional map of Singapore in the computer. Now, what do I do with this information? Well, I can do a lot. I can do a computer model that simulates the wind flows through the town. In the tropics, we learn the wind when I'm in Chicago. Now, if you look at this diagram, the colors that are yellow and orange means that wind flows are pretty good. The ones in blue means it's a little bit, it doesn't move so much. So when we do the first cut of Opal Eco
Check
Town,
the speaker of the software because it might be
and
down
then we
there.
adjusted the buildings, parts around,
No, it's not
and
there.
then find that wind flows improve. You see more of the orange and red colors, which means you get a cooler and a better air quality to the town. Computer simulations can do many things. We can do it at the town level, or we can do it at the precinct level, and we can even do it at the building level. So welcome to Home North Shore. It's a town that precinct just designed or have just launched for sale. Not like for flatbed, but I highly recommend it.
It's advertisement.
Now, in the design, similarly, when we first did the design, we looked at the wind flows through the town. And like at the town level, we also made adjustments to the design and moved things around, cut holes in the buildings, and you can see that the wind flows have improved, particularly in the neighborhood sector. Alright, we wanted a lot of natural ventilation so that we can minimize the use of air conditioning. Now, computer simulations can also help you in many ways. You can do a shadow analysis of the town. Here you see the shadows moving from morning till night. Why is it important? Well, it helps the architect and the planner to decide where to put the park, the outdoor dining areas, the outdoor plazas, the playgrounds, and my childcare center. I like to put them in the shade so that the children can be out for the day. The computer can also tell you solar irradiance in the town. How much sun actually falls in the summer season on the town and on the buildings? Why is this useful? Well, it helps me to decide, for example, when there's more sunshine, I don't know, put gardens there. And when there's a lot of sunshine, that's where I put my solar panels, top of solar panels. And it's very effective. All this information
a little bit of overview how the performance of the neighborhood design can be done or is being done by the architects. Okay, now this is the loop what we as a chair do performance-based design, but I just mentioned it, we do performance-based design in this loop: form generation, performance evaluation, and optimization by means of intelligent tools, techniques, and methods. And also in the urban issues, we also develop tools, techniques, and methods. And I make a reference to the work of Piruz Nurian, who does a lot of work and develop tools in this. There are new trends in cities. In Rotterdam, there are attempts to make rooftops of the high-rise buildings green, with the aim to produce vegetable in high-rise buildings. But it has a lot of benefits. Space is scarce in the city centers, as you know, and city centers are generally 4 or 5 degrees hotter than the countryside. It can provide climate regulations, these green areas, and also visually it provides visual quality at the center of the cities. There is a work done or design made by Belgian architect Vincent Calaba for the Paris in 2050. He made a design for it, and I would like to share this again with you. Purpose is to make the city green, transform it in an eco-friendly way. These are imaginations, but people are working, the architects are working on it, the urban planners and architects. Brings, of course, new challenges for all engineering disciplines, for civil engineers, for mechanical engineers, many engineering disciplines, and it has to be integrated with that. Energy generation with windmills, agriculture. Cities are getting very dense, and there are no playground for children. Elderly is really a problem. So architects are trying to find solutions for those problems in contemporary. The energy generation again. Was the design of Vincent Calaba for 2050. The new trends again, the vertical farming in autonomous and smart cities. These are examples of vertical farming ideas for creating buildings for farming in the city centers, with the aim to produce food in those centers and make the centers green. Next to providing a space to grow food, the urban sky farm, in this case, aims to generate electricity via the solar array on its roofs. In the middle of the center design. Example of vertical farming ideas. Green buildings are very much trend at this moment in architecture. Environmentally responsible and resource efficient throughout the whole building cycle is the task of architects. I am almost at the end. I am coming. There is another design of Vincent Calabau for a futuristic city made of garbage. Garbage is again one of the biggest problems in the contemporary cities, especially in mega cities, how to deal with it. And here it shows the human creativity and imagination inspired by the nature which has no borders. Now I would like to give you a very brief overview of the future developments in transportation technologies, only with one slide. There are many, many developments, but just to mention two of them, which is a flying car which is unveiled at this moment.
At some point in the future, Terra
That's my dream.
Aerospace Company in Massachusetts has released their newest design for a futuristic vehicle that resembles a helicopter. Named the TFX, the vehicle can fly with any other automobile on the ground. When ready to hit the skies, drivers only need to find a large parking lot or helipad for takeoff rather than requiring a runway. Utilizing tilt-rotor technology, the vehicle would lift almost vertically. The propellers would then shift from that vertical position to horizontal while the car/plane is in the air. A spokesperson at Terrafugia stated, "We felt this was our time to share our vision of the future. If you don't start today, it won't happen." Cars aren't just for looks and road usage anymore. Last year, a top competitor for the unofficial amphibious world speed record competition was a vehicle named the Sea Lion. Described as the potential world's fastest amphibious car, it's equipped with gears that have a top land speed of 180 miles per hour, and it was clocked in at 60 miles per hour in the water.
This is in fact happening in Rotterdam. There is already a splash bus that we have on the river, which is driven on road and sails on water. And this is another reducing traffic congestion, another project. For the public transport, in the city centers. lot of work for industrial design engineers for the
Thank you
future.
so much.
So this will be my last one. I'm almost finished. The predictions for future cities. I also would like to show this video, how people are dealing with
Since
this.
the dawn of humanity, we have strived to enhance our living and working environments. Over the years, we have witnessed numerous quantum-leap moments which have totally transformed our lives. Today, we are making the next giant stride, the age of the smarter home. At any time and from anywhere, we can now switch on lights, turn on thermostats, unlock the back door with Samsung Smart Fix technology. So what can we expect to see in the next 100 years? As city space becomes more squeezed, more burrowed deeper, and built higher, towering megastructures will yacht today's skyscrapers, while skyscrapers will tower 25 stories deep or more. Underwater cities are likely to become a reality. Using the water itself to create breathable atmospheres, Doc Brown in Back to the Future said, "Where we're going, we don't need roads." He may have got the year wrong, but his forecast for transport is likely to be correct. Some of us will be travelling in skyways with our own personal flying drones, some strong enough to carry entire homes around the world for holidays. Flexible, smart walls will mean you won't ever need to decorate. LED room services will adapt to suit your mood. When it comes to entertainment, we will download dishes from famous chefs and 3D print everything from gourmet meals to our favourite cakes in minis. Our working lives will be transformed with holograms, allowing us to attend meetings virtually. Stepping through medicals will confirm if you are really ill, providing a digital diagnosis and supplying medicine or remote surgery if needed. The next giant leap will see Earth as solar century as we start colonizing space. First the moon, then Mars, and then beyond, out into the galaxy. Remember, these are just predictions for the century ahead. But with technical and medical breakthroughs moving at pace and an ever-increasing life expectancy, you may not need to take my word for it. You might just be around to see it for yourself.
So I think I won't be around, but especially the young generations, they will be around to see perhaps what will happen in the future. Now, finally, I came to conclusions. If we talk about the aspect of intelligence in smart cities with the IQ and EQ, with the qualitative and quantitative aspects, then we can say that the heart, the machines, analytics with sensing and sensors, and practical actuators made operational using IoT infrastructure, and the soft human aspect like creative, user-friendly platform for design-oriented interaction with the data, and social aspects with public spaces or common activities needs a human-machine interface in between. So then we can introduce the cloud platforms as a key for participation in cities, because that is absolutely necessary for the future. It must be human-oriented, and the participation of the preferences of the citizens must be the key herein. And then, answering the question as the title of my presentation, can a city have an IQ and EQ? Then I say, depending on how and from which point of view we are looking, and we are considering the intelligence, and how we measure under which criteria. The answer will be yes, if we consider the city as a whole with its hard and soft aspects, and no, if we consider the city only as a physical place with only hard criteria, technology driven from a technical point of view, then it is no. And as again conclusions, smart cities require continuous development, because when you inject the technology today, after 5 years or 10 years, the technology is old. What do you do? It must be continuous development process, a dynamic process. Involving citizens in this process is absolutely a must, and developing new knowledge on hard and soft aspects mutually is a necessity. But there is a fact. The world population in 2070. This is the situation. And from my point of view as an architect, 80% of the world population at this moment lives in absolutely very poor conditions. They don't have a normal house. They do not have. Friends from South Africa, I have been there. I have seen how some part of the people but also in Asia and many other countries. So the question is, open question to us, how and what can be the contribution of us, all of us, to improve these conditions to be a smart city. But you have seen in the previous slides and also the previous videos with predictions, those are very luxury problems what we are dealing with. And we are lucky, of course, that we have enough opportunities in these countries. But there are no passengers on spaceship Earth. We all, you, me, we all are the crew. And we are the most advanced and valuable being in the universe as a human being. Because the final goal of the science and technological developments in general, and architecture in specific, must be targeted to improve the welfare and prosperity of mankind. But this is not only the architecture, of course. We are only the small part of the whole process. And engineers and all economists, everyone has the task to do so. And here I like this very much. I will finish the lecture with it.
There is a time when we need a certain goal, when the world must come together.
I am finished.
There are people dying. Oh, when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all.
Thank you very much for your attention and also for your patience. Thank you. Ah, okay.
We are a part of God's great family.
Okay. I think we can. Okay, totally. I think we have time for some question, and thank of course for your kind and funny and interesting presentation.
Thank you.
So we have time before coffee to make some short, please.
I have a couple of observations. I anticipate, I work with you about planners, so
That's nice.
I agree with most.
I'm not an urban planner, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean, architecture, urban planner, they are all converging on these ideas. So first observation, I will speak and call the human side the hard part of this, and the rest the soft part.
Yeah.
Because you look at the material stuff, but in reality, what is always in a city is the human being.
Yeah.
But building keeps changing, and the structure keeps changing. So the hard part is the human part, and the soft part is the physical part.
No, hard part is the physical environment. Soft part
I
is the human
disagree
part.
with that.
You disagree, why?
Because there is no city without human.
Of course.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's that part. That's
Those
what
are the
is
users.
necessarily there.
Yes. But
The rest changes, keeps changing.
But human being has soft and hard aspects in it. Our body is the hard one, but
you look
the
at
soul.
the material, you don't look at the necessarily element. But that's a conceptual point. The other point I would like to know more about is that all the city that you see in the future that's shown there has the human being as we know it today. But we are changing. We are becoming cyber and more. So that's why now. But the question is, did not consider how we change our human body in this future view of the city, and I'm concerned about that because we imagine something that I believe is not what is going to happen.
Now, of course, human being as a physical body, we all are the same. From inside, all our organs, and from outside, a little bit different, but we are all the same. We have physical needs. We need a house to live, we need a car to go, we need all these physical aspects. But we have also soul. So we are changing. Our habits are changing. Our preferences are changing. Our needs are changing. And this has all due to the various aspects. The cultural aspect, as I said, it includes all of these changes, physical, soft and hard aspects. When you look at the history, 300 years ago, people were living totally different. They were behaving different. But due to the changes, technological innovations, we are changing our habits. As I said, for instance, I give you a simple example. When I came to Netherlands 35 years ago, there was no mobile phones. And I was calling my mother to talk from Turkey. And I was waiting, believe me, 8 hours long on the chair, taking my book and waiting to be connected by the operator with my mother to talk a few words. But nowadays, we are here and we can communicate with all over the world, even for the free of charge. So the things are really changing. So our behavior is also changing. It is not the human body, human physical body is changing, but our habits is changing. Therefore, our soul as well, I think.
Are you familiar with the transhumanism movement?
Transhumanity?
Transhumanism. It means you basically change your body, because that's what we do today. We transplant, we change your body. With this, you enhance your capacity. And
is the physical body really changing?
You add a new capacity. And that's not something which is in the picture you've shown. That's my concept.
No, very nice. Thank you very much. I will take the notes and I will study them.
I would propose also the opposite, because by making ourselves more and more dependent on technology, we're also switching off all kinds of instincts. So we're not only evolving ourselves, but also doing the opposite. I think.
Opposite in the sense of?
Yeah, numbing our senses.
Yeah.
Replacing what we can do as humans with technology.
Yeah.
And after a few generations, then start our own instincts and capacities start to deteriorate. So
Yeah,
reverse
that's
evolution.
change. Yes, I agree on that.
May I make one more observation?
Yes?
Because I think it's important. So you've shown all these utopian future images.
Mm-hmm.
Given this idea that there are future images, I would really like to mention that in Holland we have Belfi, which is a company that produces and sells.
Belfi?
Belfi in Rotterdam. They produce and they sell flying cars, so it would be really good to show that. And because those were animated, those were not real.
Yeah, but the car what I showed was unveiled already in US. This was the truth.
Okay. And then some of our own former students started a company in Amsterdam 5 years ago. It's called Roof Life, and they rebuilt rooftops into gardens, and they also grow food for local restaurants. So that's already happening, and I think it's cool to.
Yeah, the Rotterdam was example, but everywhere it is happening nowadays. Also in France, I know there are a lot of projects on that. That will be the trend. And the University of Wageningen, they are working intensively on the vertical farming. In the Netherlands, there is a very famous, I think, top world university on agriculture, Wageningen, and they are working on the vertical farming aspects.
Very last question.
Thank you so much. Sevil, I believe that we have been successful to find these very, very good speakers like the authors, for this presentation, because it was just amazing, thought-provoking, really, really interesting. And here is my point. There is one thing what I believe that technology can go further, and I believe that human may change or whatever. But there is one thing here, what I see is the complexity.
Yeah.
And the complexity grows much faster in engineered systems, no matter if they are purely technical or social technical systems or whatever, than our understanding what to do with complexity, how to manage complexity. There was just a small illustration. Very recently I finished a graduation project. And the topic of this particular project was to develop a self-propelled luggage, which follows you even if you are in a wheelchair. It follows you. It goes upstairs and downstairs. It worked. technically we could solve a lot of things. But when it was a question that what is with the control of this? Then we reversed the validation and we did a study that how many things we didn't consider in order to have it under control. And finally it turned out that in the design phase we considered 13 main elements of the control, and something 130 were missing, which was related to the safety, the how to say, the overall control, the relationship control, and so on and so on. So when I see that these megacities, then what is with the control? Who will be the person who will decide on the control, and who takes the responsibility? Divide and conquer will not work.
No.
So that's all.
No, that is, I think, really a big challenge to deal with it. On the other hand, I believe nothing in life, nothing is 100% good, 100% bad, 100% positive, 100% negative. So that is why if we try to find the balance, to minimize the disadvantages and maximize the advantages, perhaps we will find the right path. Because we see also this cyber attacks and all those things. How can we deal with it? All those things. There are a lot of challenges. I mean, in the future, we have a lot to do.
I cannot unlock myself from the thread of the butterfly effect. You know, that something happens in Florida and the effects are in somewhere, Nevada or wherever, you know. So this is what I'm afraid of, that designing, engineering, since the very beginning was always with the tangibles. And in these complexities, plenty of intangible things are there, what we may not be aware of, not to mention their understanding and recognition and handling. So this is what makes me thinking. I'm rather positivist in my thinking.
Yeah, I am also, as I showed, what is now in the world in 2017, that still there are illiterate people. There are 80% of the world population, unbelievable, living in very bad living conditions. Can we find the balance here? How can we do it? I don't have an answer. There is so much poverty. I don't know if you have an answer. I don't have the answer.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe that we can keep going with the discussion on the coffee. Thanks again for your presentation.